What is happening in there? J Gaming Dude here, and I've talked about this game before, but you know what? When you know that a game is really, really bad, you just want to give it a good old kick in the nuts, you know what I mean? You want it to just, it's already in pain from being stabbed a lot, and you're just like, you know what? I don't want to stab this individual anymore, I don't want to stab this individual because I A, don't have the guts to, and B, I think a lot of other people have stabbed him in the back a little bit too much anyways. So you know what? While this person is on the ground, I'm just going to walk up to him and I'm just going to kick him in the balls, because if they're going to keep struggling on the ground, I might as well have a little bit of fun with it. So, Lord of the Rings Gollum. So I did talk about this game because of bad PC ports, which is actually a video that got absolutely no views, and I still think it has no views, so you know what, check that out, please. That's all I'm gonna say. You need to have a game that is so universally terrible to have a game that has a Metascore in the red. So for those of you guys that don't know, if your Metacritic score is 49 or lower, that's usually represented by red numbers. If it's between 50 and 74, it's going to have a yellow number. And then if it's 75 or higher, it's a green number. So, and that's why, you know, the scores are either red, yellow, or green. Obviously, we know red is bad, yellow is okay, green is really good. I am so very, very curious about Gollum. I genuinely want to play how bad this game is. Unfortunately, I can't really play it on PS5 because if I did buy the game, I just can't refund it right away. So I'm waiting for it to be absolutely buggeringly cheap before I jump into it, because I would be very, very curious to see how things would go. So I just wanted to kind of go down and have a look at the reviews and see just how bad the flogging is, because apparently the 10 hours of the game, 7 to 8 of the hours aren't even gameplay. It's more like just a giant tutorial. So let's kind of actually have a look and see what we can find. Jesus Christ, Gaming Trading gave it a 70, and that's like the highest by a big margin from what it looks like. Actually, no, let's go to all critic reviews. Jesus Christ, there's a 0. Oh no, there's some 70, 65, 60, 55. Anyway, let's go down to the bottom because that's kind of what we're here for. I don't believe I've ever seen a critic review genuinely give a 0. Digitally downloaded said, what makes Gollum stand out is that most other developers and publishers that then use their creative teams to try and hide the crass cynicism and capitalism. Daedalic didn't bother with Gollum, so Daedalic is the developers. This game represents the game's industry with its mask off. Okay, that must hurt for most companies that are trying to make a good game. So, but it still doesn't, I don't know where the 0 is coming from. But then again, I'm not going to read the full review, so let's just keep moving. Sixth Axis gave it a 1 out of 10 and says, Lord of the Rings Gollum was conceptually a game with some promise, but from what I've seen so far, it's a mediocre and messy experience that doesn't really come together into a cohesive whole. That is, of course, before coming to the bugs, the crashes, and the game-breaking progression issues that make it impossible to complete at this time. Considering that I was actually looking forward to this one really stinks. Oh my god. So my PC, current games on PC needing really, really high specs to run generally leads to sort of more terrible games. Somehow Gollum has made it to be the worst rated game of the year, beating out Redfall somehow, which is absolutely fascinating to see. And so for someone to be very excited for Gollum and then to be just completely distraught by how bad it is just, you never want a game to be bad, but when you see it being so terribly flogged, you just can't help but look at it and laugh at the situation. Unfortunately, you are laughing at the expense of another person, so that's definitely worth considering, thinking about a little bit before, pointing and laughing at someone. Metro Game Central gave it a 1 out of 10 as well. Broken beyond belief, but also a fundamentally bad idea for a video game. With a namely shadow and repetitive gameplay, Gollum is not only the worst mainstream game of the year, but of the last 2 generations. All I'm going to say is, if you're talking about the last 2 generations, I'm assuming PS4, PS3, not including the PS5 generation, we have Right to Hell Retribution, people. We have Right to Hell Retribution. That game has less than 20 meta score, mind you. God, that was so bad. Ooh, let's look at. I was gonna look at either GameSpot or Push Square, so we'll look at both. GameSpot gave it a 2 out of 10 and said, much like Gollum's quest for the One Ring, my quest to complete Lord of the Rings Gollum was full of endless setbacks, impossible odds, and ever-increasing levels of madness. And like Gollum, my journey was doomed from the start. So if the developer's main goal was to put you in the shoes of such a pitiful, unlovable character faced with constant pain and suffering at every turn, they were at least successful with that. And Jesus Christ, that is a great write-up. Gollum is a horrible character. He's been through a lot in the worst ways possible. That could not have been a better write-up. Just saying. Jesus Christ, holy cow, that's good. Push Square gave it a 2 out of 10 as well and said Lord of the Rings Gollum is a broken mess of a game. There are barely any redeeming qualities to be found amidst what can only be described as a massive missed opportunity, but there is some serious potential in a single-player linear Lord of the Rings experience like this, but with outrageously dated level design, clunky controls, a severe lack of polish, muddy and unimpressive graphics, and a dull story. Gollum completely misses the mark as massive fans of the books, films, and games. It's sad to see that there's nothing precious about this experience. Again, I kind of love a bit of like the puns going around, like the whole sort of he's apparently in the game he says my precious a lot, even though this takes place before he gets the ring, which is when he starts calling it his precious. So we're kind of falling a bit in the lore department, if you know what I mean. Ooh, we got Game Informer. 35. So 3.5 out of 10 or 35 out of 100. I constantly struggled against the controls, camera, and objectives as they were presented, and nothing about the story or characters of Lord of the Rings Gollum offers reason to push past the frustration. As a longtime fan of Tolkien's fiction, it's possible that I liked the game even less for the way it seemed to misuse the source material. It's hard to believe a more damning indictment than to say that this Gollum game isn't for fans of Lord of the Rings, but here we are. That is actually kind of painful to read about a game. Jesus Christ. PC Games, God, it's a geek. There's not much in the positive area. I'm surprised IGN didn't do a review on this game. Noisy Pixel, Hardcore Gamer. I think the only one I didn't read was Games Radar, which is ultimately, it's difficult not to come out of Lord of the Rings Gollum with a sour taste in the mouth. You can see glimmers of Daedalic's intent to create a different kind of Lord of the Rings game throughout, particularly in the ways it manifests its unlikely hero's unique psychological state, but those bright spots are quickly lost amidst all of the ways Gollum stumbles in its execution. Perhaps there is a Gollum game that could work as both a narrative at both a narrative and mechanical level, one that reframes our relationship with the iconic character to the point where people think twice before doing their terrible impressions of him at parties. And I will absolutely say I did do those terrible impressions at parties. Alas, Lord of the Rings Gollum is not that game. I'm sorry to say it, but those terrible impressions are here to stay for now. Yep. All I have to say is I'm one of those people who made those terrible impressions, and I have absolutely no remorseful people who have to deal with it because they invited me to their party, so they have to deal with it. But I wanted to look into these reviews largely because it's been flogged so badly, And honestly, like, I was wanting to see a game hit a very low Metascore to kind of dig in, see what the people think, and try to make up an opinion based on what they have to say. And I am genuinely curious. I do want to play this game. I do want to try it out, and I do want to torture myself a little bit to see how bad this game could be. That's the exact same reason why I played through Right to Hell Retribution. So it's always fascinating, just out of sheer curiosity, to play through a genuinely bad game. So I do hope this game hits the bargain bin ASAP so I can jump in, pay no more than $5, if not more than $10 for the game, just to see how it goes. But yeah, until then, if you guys have played Lord of the Rings Gollum, let me know, because that is the opinion that I want to hear most about. And even if you haven't, and you are thinking about playing it, let me know how things go, because that could only be pure gold in terms of like YouTube comment potential. And I can only hope that it's gonna be absolutely brilliant to talk about. This game, like, I saw the screenshots, it looks like bloody nightmare fuel. The way Gollum looks when his hair is glitching out, it's buggered up real bad. But yeah, I'm just curious. Let me know what you guys think about the game. Hell, just look up some screenshots and just let me know what you think about the game. Look at some videos for like maybe a few seconds. Look at other people's reviews. Let me know what you guys think about Gollum in the comments below, because we've had very, very good movie tie-in games, licensed games, very, very good ones. It's sad to see that we're kind of going back to a point where they are now just really, really bad. So it's unfortunate, it is what it is, but I definitely want to get some opinions about the way Gollum shook up, how these reviews kind of paint Gollum, and whether or not that's accurate enough, or whether these guys should have really started flogging the game a bit harder than they actually did. Like, I digitally downloaded, gave it a 0 out of 10, so do let me know in the comments below, and until then, or until next time, I'll see you then.